Okay, so we're going to put aside the whole tribalism stuff for this. I know from the headline it might seem a little bit negative, but regardless of company, we have to admit that this situation is objectively hilarious. Hello and welcome to FTTR, I am Hugh McQuaid, and today we are talking about WWE Wrestlepalooza. In particular, we are talking about the relationship between ESPN and WWE and what has just happened with their review, as their review of Wrestlepalooza has just dropped, and it is not favourable. But before we dive into that, please subscribe, please like this video, please comment your thoughts down below, and I'll try to reply to every single one of them as we dive into this. So, Wrestlepalooza happened this weekend on Saturday. I have not watched nearly any of it at all. I probably won't, but I keep up to date with podcasts, etc. and stuff like that. They do a good job of filling in for all that stuff, so I don't have to sit through Commercial City. And the show, I've heard was mid to pretty boring to bad. And you can take in your stride your reviews and stuff like that. If you watch reviews, if you like reviews or not, you like hearing people talk about stuff, you can choose whether you want to listen to them. But the reason we're focusing on a review today is because a review dropped from ESPN. ESPN, who are now the home of WWE premium live events, and they will be showing, at least in the US, the majority of their stuff on ESPN Plus for looking like a $30 price tag. Now, their review has dropped. It has dropped. It is by a guy, I'm going to find his name. One moment. Andreas Hale. It is by Andreas Hale. I'm not going to act like I know much about US sports journalism at all. I'm not sure if he's a prominent writer, reviewer or not, but his review has dropped on the official ESPN website, and he gave it a C. Now I know what you're saying. You're saying a C isn't even that bad. If you got a C in school, it's a passing grade. That's true, but a C is always a, we're disappointed in you. You can do better. Come on, we know you can do better, especially considering you've got your A pluses in there as well. So it's like a C is pretty stressful. It's pretty stressful when you get a C because you're always being prompted, like, you know, it's fine, but you can do better. The reason why this is so significant to me is the publication. It's ESPN. Wrestlepalooza had a huge push behind it for ESPN. The entire video package at the beginning was dedicated to ESPN and showing people that this is now going to be a mind-blowing experience now that WWE is on ESPN. And then ESPN give the show a C. All of those expectations have just been destroyed, absolutely destroyed for this entire partnership with ESPN, because if ESPN on the first show, which was hyped up to be the biggest deal of all time, have then looked at it and gone, you know what, C, it was pretty mid. It was mid to bad. That's why we're going to give it a C, because if you look at the exact thing, his exact write-up, the verdict, the excellent Vaquer vs Sky match saved the show from being truly average. It was a phenomenal display inside the squared circle. Everything else was either underwhelming, the short Rhodes-McIntyre match, or a setup for a future match, Lesnar dominating Cena. For a card that promised to have epic moments, it fell short of expectations. That is not what you want ESPN saying about your debut show on the network. ESPN don't want to be saying that about the debut show on their network, because if people were thinking of checking it out, and I don't know how big ESPN is, and it was like the biggest thing in America, if that's where people get all their sports information from and they see a review of Wrestlepalooza and it's a C, why would they sign up? Why would they sign up? That makes no sense. And I appreciate, you know, in this world that we live in, honesty. I appreciate this guy being completely honest about his feelings for WWE. It is just hilarious that on their debut show they got a C rating. A C rating on ESPN. I think it's hilarious. It is absolutely hilarious. Will this cause any sort of damage or anything like that? No. But I think it's the cracks starting to show, you know. It's the fall of a wall. It is the fall of this hype that TKO and WWE have built up, you know. And if they're getting ESPN doing pretty negative coverage of them, I would argue that it's pretty negative, saying everything else was either underwhelming or set up for a future match. I would say that's pretty negative. So yeah, I think it's hilarious. I think it's absolutely hilarious, and I don't know how many of these we'll get in future. I would be shocked if we get more of this. I have a feeling that the powers that be in TKO are probably speaking to ESPN now, being like, we don't want you to do any more reviews of our shows at all. Like, zero. We don't want any. You can talk about the news, talk about Stephanie McMahon named for 2026 Hall of Fame, but we don't want you doing reviews of our shows because that reflects negatively on us. And I would be shocked. I think ESPN will pull the reviews for WWE shows. That is my out there theory. I think future PLEs will not have this kind of review. I genuinely think so, because I think there are people probably at TKO who are really pissed right now that this has come out from their broadcast partner. Now, granted, they may be they probably are two completely separate departments, the sort of journalism area and the broadcasting, but at the same time, it's all under the same name. So if you see ESPN shitting on something that was broadcast on ESPN, why would you watch that? Like, they're literally shitting on something that they themselves are airing and producing. So if they don't have faith or confidence in it, why would I continue to watch it moving forward? I think it's hilarious, and I think it's potentially a sign of things to come. And yeah, it's wild. Absolutely wild, insane, and hilarious. And I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Do you think this has any sort of lasting impact? Do you think it's as funny as I think it is? Let me know down in the comments, and I'll try to reply to every single one of them. Thank you all ever so much for your support, and have a nice day.